Welcome back. Thanks for watching. We are looking at a series, and in this series, we have covered so far um, going down memory lane, religion, and that true learning emancipates. I will drop down the links for those videos if you'd like to just go back and watch and see what we have discussed. But through this series, we're looking into it's the thought journey of an explorer, just looking into my life and which resembles the lives of my peer group, the times that we grew up in, and how and where we are at today. And so we are continuing with the series. In this video, we will be talking about the storms in the process. The last video we talked about that the crossing over is necessitated by various things, and we looked at the different kinds of crossing overs. We highlighted four of, um, of the ones that one get in this life. Geographical crossing over, we look at a paradigm shift, or the mental crossing over. We also looked at the spiritual crossing over, supernatural, which is sometimes by scientists referred to as quantum physics. And then we looked at the crossing over that is described by death, when one passes over from this life into another. And so in this video, we are just going to look at what happened, the storms that one may face in the process of crossing over. Now, in the process of one changing a geographical setting, in the process of a paradigm shift, crossing over, or during the course of one moving into the sphere of the supernatural, or we may be faced with a storm of some kind. We may be faced with a storm of some kind as we make our way to the other level, the other sphere, the other realm, the other setting. Then it doesn't mean that it will just go smooth and you'll be on the other side. If one has to liken it unto daily experiences, we're talking about, when we go through stuff, whatever we may face or befall us, that we face storms, different kinds of storms, and each one of us can tell a different story, because we have unique lives. Even though there are some things, similarities in terms of certain experiences, yet there are experiences that are just distinct to us. Now, the storms of life could be characterized by, for example, marital infidelity. It could be financial difficulties. It could be spiritual bankruptcy or doubt. It could be, and so the list continues. On this terrestrial realm, one will face challenges, for sure. I think just by me mentioning a few things now, a lot of things might have come up in your mind, and just some, not just light bulbs, but just triggered some words that I mentioned, just triggered some experiences in your past. Remember, all of us have experiences. We have repositories of experiences, and all these that we have amassed over the years. And so none of us is exempted from facing challenges from time to time. But it is in beating the storm that we will be able to ascend to higher realms in learning, as we indicated within the previous video. Some time ago, I noticed a change in my computer's performance. I detected that my PC could not allow me access to my documents as fast as before. It was frustrating to have to wait after a selection of instructions for it to open up. There was just no correspondence between my computer and me. I could not understand why the retardation. I'm sure that you will agree with me that computers can be a nightmare at times, especially when one does not have a working knowledge of IT. I consulted an IT specialist who pointed out the problem. Your computer is malfunctioning due to a virus, he advised, or he informed me. We have to update the antivirus on your PC, he said. Well, he worked his magic and my computer was back to speed. The IT specialist sternly cautioned me not to delay updating the antivirus on my PC. A reluctance to do this, he explained, may lead to damages done to the software and the like. But in the event that the computer will malfunctions, it can always be revived, restored to its former state, or even better. Now, this illustration reminds me that revival, things like revival, restoration, restitution, reformation, and revolution are always possible. Very much possible. Very much possible. Like my PC, it got its revival from an IT master. In the same way, restoration or revival, all the things that I've just listed, we can experience those when we are just in contact or in connection or with the divine, with the spiritual realm, with God, with the Creator. We can, once we have access to the Creator and a growing relationship with Him, if I may call it that way, then we can experience the things that I've just listed. And like my computer, we can be revived, we can be restored, we can be restitution can happen to us. So the experience of my computer and my conversation with the IT specialist taught me that it is important that we keep our psychological, intellectual, physiological, and spiritual lives updated. It will ensure us immunity from the threats of life, the threatening viruses of our time, and you can put in your own definition right there, your own examples, what may be a threatening virus in you, and just a metaphor for an experience or challenge that you may face. So that experience of my computer further taught me that learning revivals are very much possible, and it's like really very much possible to the ones who lost their first standing in matters relating to their total well-being. Because when we look at the human body, for example, or the human being, consists of several components, parts. There's the spirit, the body, and the soul or the mind. And then there are other components which are sort of sub-themes to this, linked to this. So when the body is ministered unto holistically, it will present us as a good unit, as a human being who's been ministered to and taught, fed, holistically. We will be found to be people who are living full lives. We should refrain from dichotomizing what the Creator has so intricately put together, where the body, soul, spirit is supposed to function, work together, coexist, and fit each other, be interrelated and interdependent upon each other. We find that in this life, because of the ethics, that the definitions that we give to that ethics, ethos, our viewpoints of morality, how we looked at that, and even in terms of moral relativism, all those things then cause us to separate what is supposed to be together. That is why when they talk about people who are psychiatrically challenged, whether and who could be a danger to, I mean, that mind which is so distorted and confused could be a danger to the body, and not really feed and assist the spirit. So then we see that dichotomization right there. Now, when we are linked and in connection, and we have full understanding and knowledge of the divine, of our Creator, and we serve the purpose why He created us, then what? And we help, and we minister to ourselves, or allowed to be ministered unto holistically, then we find ourselves to be like a unit, to be healthy. Our welfare is great, our well-being is great, and we enjoy life the way we're supposed to enjoy it. And then we learn then to coexist with other human beings and with the rest of the creation, like your animal kingdom, your plant world, will be able to coexist. And I mean, there are stratifications that characterize the holistic creation, or the universe. And it's interestingly, that term universe, as they inform us, that it just means one song. There's this cohesion, that togetherness, that interrelations, the connection right there. And when we look at the stratification, we see from within the entire universe, from the stratosphere to the hemisphere to the sphere, the atmosphere, all of those are linked together and interdependent. And we see that the parts, when we start to look at, the scientists will tell us about the atoms, and I'm not a fundi or in that area. I'm not a scientist, but from what we learn, what scientists uphold, what we find, what is visible with the naked eye, and other things invisible. That's how tiny these things are within creation in terms of your atoms and so on. But if we have to bring it down right from the top to the bottom, from those spheres from the celestial into the terrestrial realm, and then we see what is here on earth. And even in the earth, that we find minerals. You find your iron, you find your even things even under the water, where you have things like there's oxygen, there's helium, there's all different kinds of things, and even what the plants are depending upon, what the animals are depending, and the one feeds of the other, and so on and so forth. Now, in all of that, looking at it holistically, one is saying that if we coexist and we understand why we are here, and we all need to function together and to build one another, and it's simple. The assignment is simple. It is we are to pardon me, excuse me for that. We are, it's this time of the seasons. We are in the winter season, and one really has to look after yourself. Having said this, the winter season is also needed. So not only do we need the summer and autumn, but we also need the winter. So that they tell us that even the trees grow during the winter period is a period of rest. And so all of these things are just interrelated, connected to each other, like we are connected to one another. And so going back to the illustration of my PC, when that computer, just one part is not functioning well, some problem with it, it has an effect on the rest of the computer, which will then malfunction. In the same way, when one part of our bodies is not functioning effectively, it has a bearing on the rest of the other parts. And so we need to look at ourselves holistically. I like the verse in the Bible that says you must love the Lord your God with all of your heart, all of your soul, your psyche, and then your spirit, your mind. Excuse me for that pardon. Love the Lord with all of it. And it's interesting. One may ask, how do you love God with your mind, with your psyche, your soul? How do you love God that way? Well, through learning, studying and learning. That's how you give appreciation to the Creator for using your brains, using that cognitive abilities that you have. And so learning is better than survival, for it presents change and it ensures growth. Along with this, the things like which of course can be observed in relation to learning. It's things like that we look in learning places an emphasis on new interests in life. So when we learn, and I'm sure you can add to the paragraph or to the list, when we learn, the more we learn, the more we discover new interests in life. And the learning process then places an emphasis on those new things that we glean. Learning also sparks renewal, transformation, and adjustment. True learning often challenges tradition. And it's interesting when we talk about tradition, and I've mentioned earlier about, when we looked at subjects like moral relativism, ethics, and morality, all these things. It's interesting to see how different cultures would attach different definitions to it. We don't all agree as to what it means. For example, there are cultures and traditions, religions would draft a list of what sin is. And then there are others who would point out that there is no such a thing as sin. So it's interesting to see the different schools of thought that we find in the world. But the point that I'm trying to make is that true learning emancipates. True learning emancipates. It brings about renewal.